What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel. Our final team to do predictions for, it's the Vanderbilt Commodores, and we're going to give you 5 different sources of predictions on this team. A Vanderbilt team that I think is going to be really explosive offensively, but the problem I think is actually going to be on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to struggle again to stop teams, and I think that's going to catch up to them. And the schedule is pretty tough for this Vanderbilt team. With an easier schedule, if it's set up a different way, I think there could definitely be a different outcome. But when you look at this schedule, you have Purdue in the non-conference, and then you look at the games that they could potentially win, the games that they're going to have a good opportunity to win. How many of those are at home? Georgia, LSU, probably not going to win those games. Missouri and Kentucky, those games are going to be tough. They'll have a chance, I think, in those 2 games. But that's really what it comes down to, because I see them struggling on the road at Ole Miss, at South Carolina, at Florida, at Tennessee. And a lot of these teams in the SEC are getting better. Vanderbilt's still a good football team. I don't think that they're really dropping off. It's just the fact that I think some of the other programs are getting better. And I think Vanderbilt will be competitive. Even against Georgia, I think they'll play them pretty tough. But I think wins are just going to be tough to come by. So our prediction for Vanderbilt is actually 4-8. I have this team really struggling with, again, their record, even though I think they will be competitive in a lot of those games. You can get more on our predictions over on the main channel. We have a video for Vanderbilt where we go much more in depth, looking at the schedule and talking about this team a little bit more. Again, offensively, I think they're going to be good. It comes down to that Purdue game for me. If they can beat Purdue and if they can win that game, I think that'll give them enough confidence that they could actually get another win in the SEC and maybe even get to 6-6. So it's a fine line there, and I think a lot of their season does depend on that game. Our simulation had them beating Purdue, and going on to finish 5-7. So had them having a pretty good year compared to my predictions, and we'll see. Again, you can get more on our simulation over on the main channel, but we'll actually be reposting that here on this channel. So watch for that video if it's not already up at this time. We will be reposting those simulation videos here, and you can see the highlights, the scores from each game. Again, Vanderbilt was pretty competitive, but they did just miss out on a bowl game according to our simulations. Now, how about Athlon Sports? What do they say about the Commodores? They agree with the simulation. They have them at 5-7. Have them going 2-6 in the SEC. So you can't see the game-by-game predictions at Athlon, but based off of that, we know that they would lose to Purdue and then win 2 games in the SEC. I think that Kentucky game is a game you could circle that they could potentially win. Other than that, though, they got to upset Missouri at home or maybe go on the road and beat Tennessee, which is possible. Tennessee's a team that's kind of tough to figure out right now. Some sources are really high on them, like the FBI. But, yeah, they see them getting a couple of wins in the SEC, something that I just can't see because of how I think a lot of these teams are going to be better. And speaking of the FBI, they have this team at 5-7 as well. So same thing as Athlon. We did a full breakdown of the FBI here on this channel. You can go watch that. You can see their odds to win the conference, their odds in each game, and things like that. If you do go look at each game, they're favored against Purdue, actually. The FBI has them favored at 51.5% against Purdue. But in the SEC, their only game where they're favored is against Kentucky. So if they beat Purdue and then they win a game in the SEC, that's still only enough to get them to 5-7, which is what they are saying. And then Vegas has their win total at 5. So that means you got to go over that or under that. And that really, I think, reflects my predictions and our other predictions here, because I really feel like it's going to be 4-8 or 5-7. I would be really surprised if they got to 6-6. If they beat Purdue, yes, I think it's possible. And again, I think that could give them some momentum. But I think it's going to be right at that 5 mark, potentially at 4. And again, that's what we went with. 4 or 5 wins. It was close for me. But when you have to go game by game and make the predictions for all the teams, I did come out to just 4-8. So again, I don't want you to think that I'm really down on this Vanderbilt team, that I think they're bad. I think they could beat a lot of teams in the Big Ten, in the ACC, in the Pac-12, in the Big 12. It's just that the SEC is going to be, I think, pretty competitive this year in the middle of the pack. I think you're going to have a lot of teams that are pretty good this year. Not great, but pretty good. And I think some of those teams are just going to pass Vanderbilt, and that's why I have them finishing at the bottom of the SEC. But I want to know what you think about Vanderbilt. Give me your predictions down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be? Anything that you want to say about this team, feel free to do that. Again, I think the offense is going to surprise people. I think they're actually going to be better than what a lot of people realize. It's just going to be that defense that catches up to them, and then this schedule. But thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on our SEC Football channel.